In 2017, along South Africa's Gansbaai coast, great white sharks vanished within hours of two orcas arriving. This region had hosted one of the densest white shark populations on Earth for decades. Yet after 2017, sightings collapsed, and by 2019, divers recorded entire seasons without a single great white. The apex predator that ruled these waters simply fled and never fully returned. But how does a fish sense a killer it may never have seen? The answer begins with two orca scientists first identified in South African waters around 2015. Locals named them Port and Starboard after their collapsed dorsal fins, one bending permanently to the left, the other to the right, like signal flags over the sea. These two males turned Gansbaai into a killing field. And Gansbaai was no ordinary coast. For years it had been crowned the great white shark capital of the world, where the ocean's most feared hunter gathered in numbers found almost nowhere else. That reputation made what happened next hard to believe. The sharks that ruled Gansbaai suddenly began dying, and the way they died revealed a chillingly surgical method of attack. In early 2017, 5 great white carcasses washed ashore near the town. These were not scavenged wrecks torn apart at random. Each body carried a precise wound, and inside each one, the same organ was missing. The missing organ was the liver, and its absence was no accident. A great white's liver can weigh up to 60 kilograms, a soft mass packed with oil and energy. To orcas, it is the richest prize in the animal. Port and Starboard had learned to open a shark with almost medical precision, peel it back and extract the liver while leaving much of the rest behind. This was not frenzy. This was butchery, performed by animals that knew exactly what they wanted. That precision told scientists something important, but the vanishing sharks told them something stranger. Studying the carcasses, researchers expected a slaughter, a population being hunted down. Instead, they realized the sharks weren't being wiped out. They were choosing to flee. The tagging data made the choice undeniable. Tagged sharks left within hours of orca presence, streaming away from waters they had occupied for years. And they did not creep back the next morning. Some stayed away for weeks after a single orca visit, treating one encounter as a lasting sentence. This came from the work of marine dynamics and researcher Alison Towner, whose tracking turned a mystery of empty water into a story of mass evacuation. An evacuation that fast raises an obvious question. How does a shark know an orca is near before it can see one? The answer lies in senses older and sharper than sight. White sharks detect orcas through smell and electroreception long before they lay eyes on them. Those senses are almost supernatural in their reach. A shark reads the electrical fields of living bodies through tiny pores in its snout, called the ampullae of Lorenzini, sensing the faint pulse of muscle and heartbeat in the water. Its sense of smell is equally extreme, able to detect blood diluted to parts per billion. So when orcas moved in, the sharks did not wait for a shape in the gloom. They fled at the first chemical or acoustic cues, bolting on a whisper of scent or a distant click of sound. That whisper was enough to empty an entire coastline. The fear response proved so strong that even brief orca visits drained feeding grounds for months. The collapse was not limited to Gansbaai either. It spread west to one of the most famous shark sites on the planet. That site was Seal Island in False Bay near Cape Town, once the stage for the spectacular breaching hunts that made great whites famous worldwide. By 2018, sightings there had collapsed. Cape Town's shark cage diving operators suffered major losses as tourists arrived to see a predator that was no longer there. In some seasons, the boats recorded 0 great white sightings. A place that had guaranteed encounters for decades went completely silent. Silence like that forces a harder question. Why would two orcas suddenly start hunting the most fearsome fish in the sea? The reason may lie in a shift in their own food supply. Port and starboard were not typical orcas at all. They belonged to a rare flat-toothed orca ecotype, distinct from the fish-eating and mammal-eating orcas most people know. This ecotype specializes in hunting sharks and rays, whose skin and cartilage grind their teeth down to flat stumps over a lifetime. For these orcas, shark liver is a staple, not a novelty. But something appears to have changed. Declining numbers of their usual smaller prey likely push them toward larger, richer targets, and few targets are richer than a great white. So a shortage far out at sea sent two hunters toward the coast, and their arrival tore a hole in the ecosystem. With the great whites gone, that hole did not stay empty. A smaller predator surged to fill the void, reshaping the food web. That predator was the seven-gill shark. Seven gills appeared in False Bay after the white sharks left, moving into hunting grounds off limits, while a larger rival patrolled them. Before 2017, they had rarely been seen there, kept to the margins by the apex predator. Now they claimed the open water. And they were not the only ones adjusting. Cape fur seals, long the favored prey of great whites, changed their behavior as the fear that once governed their every movement lifted from the bay. When the fear lifts, the effects do not stay contained to one species. The disappearance of the great whites triggered a cascade that rippled down the entire coastal ecosystem. Remove the top of a food web, and everything beneath it shifts to fill the space. Consider the seals first. With their primary predator gone, seal populations face the risk of unchecked growth, multiplying without the pressure that once thinned their ranks. More seals mean more mouths hunting fish, which reshuffles the balance of every species below them. Smaller sharks and fish are caught in this shuffle, some suddenly hunted more, others suddenly free. Ecologists warn that this is the signature of a trophic cascade, a chain reaction where the loss of one animal reorders life all the way down. A cascade like this is only temporary if the apex predator returns, but the great whites of Gansbai never fully came back. Their long absence forced scientists to rethink something they had assumed was permanent. That assumption was the idea that an apex predator owns its territory for good. The reduced white shark presence persisted into the 2020s, year after year, with no full recovery. Some sharks did not vanish entirely. They relocated eastward along South Africa's coast, abandoning their historic strongholds for waters where the orcas had not yet learned to hunt them. To track this slow exodus, long-term monitoring continues through ongoing tagging programs, following individual animals as they redraw the map of where great whites live. That redrawn map carries a lesson larger than one bay or one species. The Gansbai collapse revealed that even ocean rulers live in fear of a smarter hunter. The great white had reigned so long that we mistook it for the top of everything. But it was never truly the top. Orcas are the ocean's real apex predator, the one animal a great white cannot fight and cannot win against. White sharks are prey to no creature on Earth except the orca. And the most striking part is that port and starboard did not need to kill every shark to conquer the coast. Fear alone restructured the ecosystem, emptying entire feeding grounds with nothing more than their presence in the water. That is the deepest truth Gansbai teaches us. Power in nature is not permanent, and dominance is only a lease held until something smarter arrives to end it. Even apex predators flee smarter hunters. The great whites of Gansbai were not defeated in battle. They were outthought, and they made the only rational choice a hunted animal can make, which is to run. What remains is a rearranged sea, still settling into a new order, still watched by scientists who no longer take any ruler for granted. If stories like this one deepen the way you see the ocean, consider subscribing so you can follow where the next one leads.